didn't want to do that. Yeah, good job. Let's move forward. That's off. Yeah, let's fix that because that's silly. There now. Okay, so that's good. Though I think I had it lined up on the bale spike. So that's done. Oh, wrong way, wrong way, wrong way. I could just park this in that shed right in front of us. Just because that's where this trailer actually lives for the most part. With a semi-trailer, I just couldn't really be bothered taking it down to the lower shed, which is where I keep all the semi-trailers. That's sufficient there. How much room is there at the back? Adequate. Okay. Drive into a few walls while we're at it. I don't care. Drive over the tyres because they're just a pain. It would be nice if those tyres actually stayed where you left them, but they reset every time you load the map, so they're just an obstacle to drive over. Now this isn't a silage bunker. I basically call this the dry storage area, so you can store sugar beets on the ground or potatoes on the ground, and that's fine. You could store wrapped silage bales on the ground here. You could do that rather than storing it at the bottom. Now I might actually consider doing that. I mean, up until now, I've been storing all the silage bales down here. At this end of the yard. But I could put equipment in here or anything I wanted and put the silage bales in that dry goods area. Probably designed more for that than anything else. Okay, so that's all done. It is 11:30 real time, so and 6 o'clock game time. We'll feed the dog. Hi dog. Yoo-hoo. Hey doggy. Oh. Doggy's gone missing. Okay. have to fast wind time to get to nightfall so we can sleep. But I think for the most part we are done with all of the jobs we need to do today. If we look here, so that's been harvested, that's been harvested, that's ready to harvest. So clover's ready to harvest. Potatoes still growing. Grass we just cut. This field now needs to be ploughed because it had sugar beets in it. So we'll probably need to get one of the big tractors out and just set it loose on that field for now. This field is covered in digestate. If I have sufficient, I'd like to do 1, 2 and 27 in digestate too, but I don't think I've got enough right now. Although we did notice that when we did do 18, it did go further than I expected it to. Any fields we don't put digestate on, we can always put oilseed radish on. We've got that in 26. 3 is a grass field. I may convert that into an arable field. It's not a particularly big one, but kind of. 8.76, 5.1. It's a little bit bigger than 8, which is where we got our potatoes today. So that being an arable field isn't a disaster. And then I could buy 11 as a grass field and 12 as a grass field because they're not big, they're not really effective as arable fields, getting big equipment in and out. However, we did just convert this area here to a grass field as opposed to pasture. So I might not need to do that. But prime first purchase of land is 7, so that we've got overflow for the sheep. After that, I've got to figure out what other lands to buy. So if I've got almost no money, we'll do a couple of grass fields and arable this field up. If we do have a lot of money, I can consider some of these fields out here for additions to the farm. Land-wise, yields have been meh. Obviously 25 and 5, which are our clover fields, have been adversely affected because we fertilized them last year, and we're still trying to burn off that fertilizer. They're all down a little bit on pH, but it's only like 0.25, so the general cycle of once every 3 years, maybe once every 2 years, to add lime back to the field. Also, yeah, because it's an automatic thing, it's only going to add a little bit of lime each year if we do decide to go out and do it every year. So, yeah, it's either a little bit this year or a lot next year. Whatever. Okay, sorry about that. Someone phoning up to sell me something, and every time she said who she was representing, it cut out, and then she got cut off, and then I hung up, so who cares? So anyway, that's that. Is there anything particular we have seen that you're looking forward to in FS22? The one big thing that I did, I was suggesting earlier this year, was the whole drag and drop fence line, where you could just go in and into builder mode and basically say, I want the fence to start here and I want to end it over there, and it would plot a fence following the contours of the map. That's one of the big deals I've had on this map is because it's not flat. Trying to place a fence or a wall, it's either embedded in the ground at one end or floating off the ground at the other end. So I kind of like that as an improvement. It's going to make what I try and do with some of my farms a lot more, or a lot less stressful, if you like. And I'm hoping that the fence line will also be a hedge line or a dry stone wall line or something like that. So that's a good thing. Oh, sound improvements, nice to have. Sound improvements don't sell me a game. Graphics improvements don't sell me a game. I'm perfectly happy to play something like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy 14 if I was playing that type of game these days. The graphics are completely different in both of them, but the graphics don't sell me on the game. It's the game content that's the real draw for me. So you want to improve the sounds? Yeah, I'm all for it, but it's not going to make me more or less likely to buy a game if you do that. And the same with the graphics. With Farm Sim, it's 8 o'clock. Probably go 8 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so 12 hours. With Farm Sim, kind of like the tractor and equipment manufacturers, I'm not I've got to have a John Deere tractor on my farm. I've got to have a Massey Ferguson. If I want to do a Massey Ferguson farm, I'm going to look and see what range of Massey Ferguson equipment is there, but it's not something I really worry about, and I appreciate having mods for vehicles that aren't in the game. So I really don't care if Giants goes out and adds Deutz and Lamborghini in Farm Sim 22. It's another manufacturer of tractor, but we've got so many options. It's, I just want the one that's most appropriate to the job I'm trying to do, with the options for the job I'm trying to do. So yes, as I feared, crop moisture is up again. So we've had an early morning dew. Meanwhile, potatoes are still growing. So we don't have potatoes to harvest today. So I can either do clover. I'll probably do the clover to first and then spread digestate out, because with the clover we'll make clover silage bales and we'll sell those to the BGA once they're fermented and make more digestate. So that's where we sit with that at the moment. So what else do I like? I am, with the whole seasons thing, I'm not so concerned about it anymore. When they said we're adding seasons to the game, the worry is always, are they going to do sort of seasons light? They're not going to, it's going to look nice, but it's functionally just, there's snow on the ground, there's autumn leaves on the trees, but functionally there's not a lot behind it. I think what they've demonstrated this week shows that there's going to be price variations based on the time of year. There's planting time and harvesting time. We're not going to see any geos. Geos are going to be embedded in every single map. So it's up to the mapper to make sure that for want of a better term, the geo for that map is appropriate for what he's doing. So if you're doing an Australian map, or Brazilian map. If you're doing a Brazilian map, because they seem to be quite popular on the Mod Hub, you're going to have your planting in September, October, November, December, and you're harvesting in January, February, March, April, because Southern Hemisphere is the complete opposite of Northern Hemisphere. Now, the problem I see with that is that if the game starts you in January, you're in the middle of harvest with no crops in the ground, and you've got to wait all the way through to October before you can actually start planting stuff. So it's something that Realismus, I think, is slightly better for. You're always starting in early spring. Now, early spring for the Northern Hemisphere is, spring starts on the 21st of March, so call it April, May, June. But in the Southern Hemisphere, it's the complete opposite of that. It's September or October, November, December. I don't know. The concern now is obviously we only get 1 day per seasonal period. There's 12 seasonal periods throughout the year in seasons that we have now. There's 12 months in Farm Sim 22, so that translates well, but we don't have the 3 days per seasonal period. I've selected 9 days per season, so that's divided equally between the 3 months of that season, so 333. We're only going to get 1 day per season per month in Farm Sim 22. Now that might make things a little bit more crammed, especially if they incorporate things like early morning dew during spring and fall. So I can't harvest until about midday most fall days, and if it's due to rain, then I'm kind of messed up. Fortunately, we have sun today, and it's going to rain tomorrow night, game day, and then it's going to be sunny. So the crops are, the ground's going to be drenched on Tuesday morning, and I'm not going to be able to harvest anything until afternoon. I don't know whether that's going to be duplicated in Farm Sim 22, but if it is, we may be very rushed to get the harvest done when it needs to get done. Although I get the impression that the harvesting periods are far more spread out. So barley happens here, wheat happens here, and cotton happens here, and so that because of the way they're spread, you're going to be less pushed to get. If I grew wheat and oats and canola on my farm, I would have 3 days to harvest all of them. And if I have rain on this day, then something might not get harvested. Whereas if I plant barley, wheat, and soybeans, then I can start the barley earlier. I've still got an extra day to do the wheat, and the soybeans isn't even in the same harvesting period. So anyway, that's by the by. There may be opportunity for modders to mod the way seasons works so that we get multiple day months. Whitehawk, good morning and welcome to Saturday. We are, as I also said, we're going to get pricing variations on crops, but I haven't seen this type of chart within Farm Sim 22, so this might be invisible to us, and it might be an experience thing. You're going to have to watch how much the prices are varying and decide when you want to sell your stuff based on the best price you've seen playing the game. And obviously, again, with the geos embedded in each map, that pricing template is probably going to be different per as well. The suggestion I've heard is that the best time to sell a crop is just before you harvest it. So you have to hold it for about 12 months before you'll see the best price on it. And if you need the cash, you're going to be selling it at a lesser value. We've heard at least one statement that cows are going to be milk or beef. So you can do a dairy farm or you can do a beef farm. So kind of like we've got in seasons. Obviously I can't buy cows. Actually, yes I can. I have a cow pasture back here. So when we have technically eight different colours of cows in Farm Sim 19 base game, which Seasons makes into 8 different breeds. The Brahman are just meat cows that are all exactly the same as far as Seasons is concerned. Holstein and Ayrshire are milk cows, and Sailor and Limousine are beef cows. Now it may be that Giants are going to do that sort of thing, or you can have, depending on what pen you put them in, your brown and white cows will produce meat or not, will produce milk or not, but that I haven't seen. All I've heard is that they are going to have breeds of cows. They're still not giving access to modders to mod animals, so we're not going to see, what Giants provides us with cows, pigs, sheep, horses, etc. is going to be what we get. There is no, they are not moddable, and to attempt to do so is against the end user license agreement, because you have to hack the code in order to do that. It does sound like they're going to make modding a lot easier for people. So adding crops, you'll be able to say, use wheat as a basis, change the texture, change the planting time, change the harvesting time, and hey presto, completely different crop. And you can call it whatever you want to call it. Oops. So that will be nice to see. I don't know what they're doing with animals in Seasons, whether there's going to be breeding periods and production periods or not. Speaking production, I generally don't do production, but if it's included, it's, well, okay, I could make use of it, but it's not a requirement. So just because there's a bakery on the map doesn't mean I have to take my wheat to the bakery, turn it into bread, and then sell it. I can still sell the wheat at market and just make what I do from meat. I can be a purely arable farmer if I choose to be. That's fine. So we are getting like what I've got here. There's that little arrow above the speedometer. I can stick things in reverse and drive, and then my W key, or the key I've got mapped to the accelerator, is just a go button, and the brake is a stop button, as opposed to W being go forwards and S being go backwards. And that is incorporating into the main game. So that makes me happy, because I do use a steering wheel and pedals. And so actually having a go button and a select drive or reverse means I will switch to Farming Simulator 22 a lot quicker than I tend to when that sort of thing is not available. Again, why we stayed with Lawfolds for so long after 19 came out, because the quality of life mods weren't there. And I'm looking at the quality of life mods I use, and Giants are incorporating some of them into the game. So, okay, I'm more likely now to go to 22 because those facilities are in the game. And I like that. We're not getting GPS, not a problem. How often do I use GPS on this map? Almost never. So I'm not too worried about there's no GPS. And I'm sure someone will mod that in very, very quickly. Well, GPS tends to take time, but yeah, you know what I mean. Buildings and landscaping and that sort of thing completely revamped, along with the ability to drag and drop a fence line. One of the other things I did mention when I was talking about, I wish we could draw a fence and partition off part of a field, would be the ability to fill that area in and define it as an animal pasture. So for example, if I could come over here, go into landscaping, it's going to beam me somewhere completely different, because they've also said that once you do landscaping, landscaping will happen where you're standing at the moment, not where you last did it. So that'll be nice. But let's go back to the farm, which I believe is somewhere up here. Yeah. Okay, so for example, if I could draw a fence and click here, draw a fence up there, run it round the edge, and then run it across to the end, and then slap it up against that wall, and then sort of highlight this area and say this is a chicken field, and then add a food trough or whatever as a placeable, and then buy chickens and stick it in this area, and the chickens would roam around per the contours of the map within the defined area that I've done, and the fence is there to sort of provide the illusion that the chickens can't go past the fence because I've drawn that area. That would be a nice addition to what they're doing at the moment with just the drag and drop fencing. But the ability to just drag and drop a fence around that area, that's nice. I like that. And put a gate in it. So, yeah, that's... yeah, it would be, as I said, that would be a nice thing. We haven't been told much about animals. So maybe it will be, maybe it won't be. But the ability to create a pasture on the fly, define an area that when you place a cow object in it, it will be then limited to where it can walk within that area. That would be a good thing. But I don't know if that's coming. Maybe that'll come in Farm Sim 24 when they watch my old videos and see me talking about that. But yeah, it's a thing. Anyway, it is, what is it? It's coming up on 12 o'clock. I need to eat. I have tasks to do today. So I will say, everybody have fun. What are we doing next week? So next week we have to plough 27. I'll probably do that on a worker. I'm going to need to... Actually, I probably need to slurry 27 first, then set the plough off. So we're probably going to start next week with a dragging digestate onto some of the fields. Probably not all of them, and I'll start with 27 because it looks like it's the smallest one. And then after that, we'll see where we go. Obviously, clover's available to harvest. Potatoes still haven't updated, so I doubt we're going to be harvesting potatoes next week. But for right now, I need to go. I need to eat the stuff. So everybody have fun. And we'll be back next week on Saturday morning at the usual times for another session on Oakfield Farm. I'm out of here.